Can you still trust what you see online? We live in a world where digital trust is gone, where deepfakes can threaten political systems, and where even our parents can't distinguish reality from fiction anymore. It's easy to feel lost. But what if the same technology causing this chaos is also being used to save lives from natural disasters? AI isn't just one thing. We're going to help you understand both the dangers and the incredible opportunities in today's new episode of the AI Academics. Hey friends, welcome back to the AI Academics podcast. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Lennart, and this is the show where my co-host Vugar and I are geeking out about the latest AI developments without getting too scientific. We want to help you get the valuable AI insights and actionable strategies that actually matter. So grab a coffee with us, tune in. I know this was random, you didn't expect it. And let's chat about why AI isn't the job-stealing monster that everyone thinks it is. Before we dive in, though, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Now, let's get started. I think Vugar and I are wanting to chat a little bit about the AI news of the week because we had some interesting stuff in there. Why don't I share the first item that we came across and discuss it? This was actually something that Vugar pointed out to me, and I was thinking, okay, this is interesting. So let's have a look at this one. The New Zealand MP exposes deep fake threat by displaying AI-generated nude images of herself in Parliament, right? So we have this Instagram story where you can see New Zealand's MP, Laura McClure. And this was brave and, of course, also a shocking moment, I think, for everyone. We've discussed deepfakes before in this podcast and the danger that this poses. This is also something that came to us, I think, from the early discussions of some of the issues that we see with political influence. So that is, of course, coming from some of these deepfakes. So definitely one of the things that I think is worth talking about. Vugar, opinions on this? You sent this to me and said, have a look at this. I can't believe this is happening. So
Yes,
what is
exactly.
happening?
Thank you, Leonard, again for today's episode, because I know how you are tired. You are doing hundreds of things at the same time. This was
I need to
this week
clone
was
myself.
also, yes,
Where's my digital twin?
exactly. This week was also kind of intense for me, but we, try to not to lose this momentum. We try to do our episodes weekly, at least, not on Wednesday sometimes, but now on
Sometimes
Fridays.
Fridays, yeah.
Yes,
When we feel like it, yeah.
but we just like to chat it, and I really like to do that. So this post, yes, I think this is one of the many threats of the AI that bring to our world. And this parliamentarian just wanted to attract attention. Of course, it was passed on all main media streams in many countries. And I just recently noticed it bad, and I think it's something that we all have to think about, maybe, and also should be. Yeah, it is not about the academics or academic AI use case or scenario, but it's definitely something that comes to our lives with the artificial intelligence. I think these kind of scenarios were there already, like one century ago, people trying to create kind of non-existing photos just by cutting, gluing, and in different settings. But later we had the Photoshop, where people trying to do what many now can do with artificial intelligence easily. The danger now is that it is easily accessible, and now it is extremely easy with couple of good prompts. You can just manipulate. You can just create any image without any problem, because the AI tools we have make this easy, make this available for everyone to do. And this action, I think, in terms of the legal term, it's of course it brought kind of now this parliamentarian is kind of celebrity in her country, and also
I think she was doing
think.
pretty well in the polls before in New Zealand. I
Yes,
mean, I don't live there, but like I think she was doing pretty well. Yeah.
but she now has a good attention, of course, for herself, but to the thing that I I also do believe that this is something dangerous that we have to take care about. We think that no, it will never happen to me, but you never know.
Hmm.
Never know what will happen, who will try to do any harm to you. And
Yeah.
therefore, she wanted to attract attention to this and to have enough legal tools in our hands to regulate the issue.
I,
Even, yeah,
I think this is really nice because your background is in law, right? Like you study the law. So I love that you're bringing that to attention because the issue that we have specifically with digital twin technology and AI deepfakes and things like that is really a lack of regulation, right? Like it's the Wild West.
exactly.
There are some, if you use tools like HeyGen, so we're running a top secret study right now. I told you about that. I can't announce yet on these digital twins and like how that changes perception in the digital age. And so I do think, yeah, tools like HeyGen, for example, you have to explicitly read permissions into your webcam when you want to create a clone. So you
Exactly.
can't just take a video of somebody and clone them, even though in theory the technology makes that possible, right? But if you use something like Replicate and you use some of these transformation models or even just face transplant models, there are, yeah, somebody that's a little bit technically savvy can get to that level and can even create like videos that look really almost indistinguishable from the real fact. And I think we've said that before. The threat that's coming at us here from AI is that we cannot distinguish anymore between those things that we thought were facts and real. Like basically, even 10 years ago, we'd say, show me a video. And so that's really happened, or show me a photo. And these digital artifacts that we've relied on for so long to provide trust for us is like that trust is gone. And you know what the side effect of that is? It's an erosion of trust in the public. And that I think is harmful and dangerous to the political systems that we have. And, this can really lead to some problems down the line if we are living in a, what was it called recently? I think I saw that on Diary of a CEO where they discussed the post-truth world. So
Mm.
basically we're post-truth because back in the day, you could always assume there's like an institution or something that you
Authority.
can, an authority that you believe what they say because they've vetted the information. With the rise of social medias and influencers and like everyone can kind of create their own thing as long as they have a following, people believe that, and emotions are much more important than facts, right? Because emotions will spread like viral wildfire in the social media world. And that can become problematic because, of course, this can be manipulated by people. And yeah, that can be tricky. And we really don't want that.
Exactly.
Just saying hi to a bunch of people joining us. Yeah, feel free to, drop us a comment as we're discussing this. We're always happy to listen to your comments and bring that on the show as well. But yeah, I think that's the problem that we're facing is that, and this is interesting in terms of the political situation that we're in. I think now we're in an age where information can be weaponized easily by the
Yes.
masses, and that is tricky. And yes, the law will need to step in. So you as a legal scholar, what are your thoughts there? Is
Yes.
that even possible? Can we have legislation, kind of what Laura McClure is talking about there? Is that possible?
I think in May, so 2 months ago, in the United States, Trump already signed this Deepfake Act, like in order to regulate what is happening with the deepfakes. And in some countries, even trying to propose that not only the creators, also distributors, and even in a worst case scenario, even who are watching these kind of videos or photos should be punished. There
Yeah.
are kind of different level of discussions for the topic at the moment. So I think in New Zealand, she just wanted to attract attention in order to initiate the legal framework to regulate the issue at the hand. Because
Yeah.
I think she understands what is this. Because most of the parliamentarians didn't even understand what's happening. I think, and I don't like to discourage anyone, but the senior ones, even academics or anyone's like my parents, I think most of us, we don't really understand what we have in our hand because my parents, I believe they have difficulties to differentiate
Oh yeah.
between the reality and the fake videos on TikTok, on YouTube, on any other channels. And this can create difficult situation in many ways, and one of them definitely, which I observed myself during the election period, that where the parties definitely trying to do their best to manipulate the different scenarios and to come up with kind of false videos about, and the information is very dangerous too. When you just release it, if it is on the internet, whether you deny it or not later, people will not care about it that much, because that first information they get, most of people will believe in that and will go away with that information. And it can affect on I would say on all countries, political systems, social systems, and everything, where we have to be, I believe, we are careful. And I think, yeah, today we are talking about totally different stuff, like what are the dangers of AI. One of them is deep fake, and shortly we will see why the Vatican's new pope is also concerned about AI, and
Yeah,
especially in
talk
the,
about that
yes,
next.
maybe we, yes, maybe
Yeah.
we can just talk
So,
about that as well. So in
yeah,
terms of
I mean,
legal, this
yeah, in terms of,
development is so fast, Leonard,
yeah.
and the legal regulation cannot catch up, I would say, because it it moves very slowly, because the from the initiation until the final inaction of any law, it
Yeah.
takes time. And even this, within this time span, AI changes so fast, you cannot, kind of 100% regulate anything it brings.
Yeah.
I don't think that it will be. Maybe we will reach with the AI development to the saturation point where for the lawyers would be possible to regulate even the minute details. But now it's not possible.
Mhm. I thought it was interesting what they said at the end of the article, where she basically said it's not the technology that's the problem, but the misuse, like, the way that
Exactly.
people are using. And this, we've talked about this before when we talked about the mobile Nobel Prize thing as well, where Hinton warned about that as well. It's like there's so much opportunity, but there's also a lot of danger, again, because misuse is also very possible. So I think it's definitely something to be aware of. But let's go from this spicy tidbit to the Vatican. Why not?
Yes.
Where the Pope has actually announced that AI should help and not hinder children and young people's development. What did Pope Leo actually talk about there to you? Can you just
Yes.
summarize that for us? Yeah.
And I think the Pope's main concern is about the younger generations, and
Yeah.
especially about the children's and their, let's say, neurological and also the intellectual development of the children. And
Yeah.
he says that AI should not hinder the development. So basically what we have been talking about a lot in our previous episodes, we are
Mm.
always saying that you shouldn't be delegating your creativity and critical thinking to AI, because yeah, for now you can rest assured that you have the final product for you. Like if you just copy paste your assignment to the AI and saying that solved it for me, and you submit that assignment
Yeah.
for your school. Yeah, for now you seem safe, you seem good at the moment, but in the future you are not developing a very critical skill that would be useful for your whole life and for your whole education. And I think he just wanted to attract attention to this as well. Of course, there
Hmm.
are other things as well, but specifically for the children, which I believe. And yesterday I discussed. I mean, I was traveling yesterday. Just on the train, I coincidentally talked to seniors German about the AI, the differences, the
That's always
problems
an
of
interesting
yes, yes,
discussion. Yeah, with the
yes.
older
We were,
generations, right?
yes, we were
Mhm.
sitting next to each other, and we just chatting about many things, because it was a very long trip for me. And so we discussed about the application of the AI at schools.
Yeah.
Should they, in Germany, for example, there are pilot schools where they are created this, they call it study buddy, let's say young students at schools at early
Mm.
ages, and they kind of promote, kind of encourage children to do use it, but of course in an ethical and in the best way they can. And it will also useful for, I think it will create an environment where teachers can feel themselves less stressful, because and sometimes shameful students cannot ask the same question twice or third time, and maybe they don't have that chance to ask questions. And for those, for example, AI could be a nice tool to give them the opportunity to ask the certain topics in a very easy language. But of course, again, fact checking is very important in these pilot schools. And I think what Pope's concern is also the same stuff that many are concerned in many countries, including in Germany, that AI should be carefully applied at schools, but cannot be avoided, cannot be forbidden at all. It is there.
Yeah.
Whether or not you are forbidden or just avoid it, students will use it. The best way is how we can create the best frameworks for ourselves.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, we got a question there already. Isn't it possible to have an inbuilt AI self-regulation for those who abuse AI use, from Ababi here? I think that is very, like, I think it's a fantastic idea to have, an AI that self-regulates. I'm guessing you probably mean through something like a system prompt or something like that. But again, I think it comes back to what the Pope is saying here, because it's not just one LLM, it's not just one tool that does it, but like there's such a variety of tools. And again, even if, let's say, they provide a framing system prompt in ChatGPT or in Perplexity or some of the tools that we use daily, that's nice within that scope. But there are enough people out there that are using the APIs and are connecting directly to the LLMs, or that are building their own wrappers around things. And of course, you have to enable that to get the good things. I mean, this is what the Pope highlighted here, and saying that, there's so much that's happening in enhancing healthcare research and scientific discovery. And actually, the last item that we'll talk about today in a little bit is going to be exactly that, specifically how AI enhancements are helping with disaster response. And we'll discuss that next. But the problem is that, yeah, we are changing our views on openness to truth and beauty itself because of the deep fakes, right? Like the way that we can fake things. So I think while this is absolutely lovely to try and get that, I don't think in practice it is possible to have that AI self-regulation. So thank you for that question, Ababi. I
Yes.
don't think we can implement that. I don't work at the AI tech companies, and that it would require some sort of consortium. It would require some sort of ethical framework. And yeah, as you know, in capitalism, there's always the discrepancy between wanting to do something ethically and then, of course, the people that are just trying to sell this for money. And as long as there's a strong incentive for the individual to make money of the mishaps of other people, I think, there is unfortunately a broken system that then can also facilitate misuse, even though we should in those moments take a minute and remind ourselves that we're human and we need to improve the human condition. And this is really our futures at stake here. So we do need to be more conscious. And I think that's what the Pope was trying to do here, just appealing to ourselves and our future, in terms of, because he was specifically speaking about children, saying, we really need to think about young people here and how young people's development is impacted. But the idea was essentially that young people do have trouble grasping and processing reality if they are over reliant on some of these things that AI facilitates for them. So again, a lot of responsibility is coming back to educators, to parents, to people that are helping shape the future of young children. And unfortunately, the world is still very divided on AI use. So instead of the stuff that we're trying to do here, which is conscientious education about this new technology to help us understand and work with it in a way that, helps all of us survive and thrive, there is, of course, these two camps. One is just like, yeah, AI for everything, it makes everything better, it's the best thing ever. And then there's the other camp that says it's the devil, it's unethical, it's just ruining everything. It's nothing productive that comes from this hardening of the camps. Like, I do think we need to have these nuanced and detailed discussions about this. And I think that is one of the things that a Pope was trying to do here with that speech, saying, there is, what did he say? The church wishes to contribute a serene and informed discussion of these pressing questions, the need to weigh the ramifications of AI. And it's funny, when a very old, very removed from technology person like the Pope feels the need to step in there. I guess
Yes.
because he's considered a guiding light by many, right? So
And he's
interesting.
American. I think he is in many topics, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the, maybe this is the last point I can just mention that today,
Yeah.
that he said that never before we had such a huge access to the information.
Yeah.
But that access comes with dangers, because previously on the website, at least you knew that this information is put on that website by some person, maybe checked by different 4 or 6 eyes or 8 eyes sometimes.
Yeah. Or
But
like
now, yes,
a knowledgeable editorial team, right? Like these are the things that
yes,
we're starting to
but
miss.
most of us, we are prone to believe what we read. Most of us, at least, read the articles on websites this
Yeah.
way. We don't need to check if it is true or not, and we got the first impression, and that's it. And if you distribute that first impression on TikTok, on YouTube, or wherever it is, you got it. And that is the danger, because you cannot make it, you cannot take it back. If it is distributed on the internet, then it is there. It is really hard again to change the minds and to persuade them to believe otherwise, which is really difficult task to do. And that's why I think, yes, it's a legit concern, I would say. And it's interesting to see that that comes from someone who is very, at the very center of, for around 2 billion people, very important person. And I definitely welcome that.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I did want to mention there, and we have another announcement coming next week, but one of the things that we're also doing in the end of August is talking about these AI harms in the VR
Very
world.
relevant. Yeah,
And that
very
is, I
relevant.
think, very related to the stuff. If anyone is interested in that, definitely, hit a reply and I'll send you the link for this, or I can put it up somewhere. But I think it's really important to think about the harms that can be done and how to prevent that with the more responsible use of AI. But let's go to the next thing we wanted to discuss, which is researchers are now developing AI models that generate more realistic rainfall maps. And this is particularly relevant because of what we've seen in the Texas floods, the flash floods that have happened this week. And there is a lot of discussion about, could it have been prevented? Of course, there's a political game happening there as well in terms of like blaming folks and like, could this have been done better? But it was like middle of the night and things like that. So it's very interesting. And part of the problem may be also the way that weather data is being processed and how accurate it can be. I think, again, I have a very limited understanding of this. I'm not from Texas. I haven't seen the exact prevention systems that they have in place. But I think one of the things that was talked about in the news that we were perceiving was that it was a very broad, there's this flash flood canyon or whatever it was, where there's basically a risk of these things all the time. But there was also a pretty broad area that was marked as dangerous, right? And so maybe people were ignoring it a little bit, and maybe it would have helped to say in this specific point is where we're really expecting something that is uncommon for these areas. And I think that would have been an interesting warning there. So this is a great new advancement here with the SPADE-GAN era. GAN is a global adversary network. So these are AI models that you can use to basically create a very realistic rainfall map. And so this was one of the things that was released here. There's a paper. If people are interested in that, they can read that paper here from Glavion et al. In the NPJ Climate and Atmospheric Science Journal, which is essentially a model that helps us understand how we can get a better downscale of these maps. And I think that's really cool because what was it? It was something like, 24 kilometers, and now we are getting to 2 kilometers. And it also takes just a better accuracy that will help some of these flash flood predictions. And I think that's as we see climate change and as we see some of these issues that people have to deal with or that we have to deal with, I think it's very important to use AI then to get ahead of some of these modern threats that we all have to face with a changing world. So very critical tongues could say like it's basically baking your cake and eating it too, because people will say, with AI's energy costs, you are just exacerbating the climate problem and using that thing to prevent the thing that started. So that's one way of looking at it, I think, for some people anyways. I do think there's more nuanced views about that and like assessments of like how much of that actually has an impact and how it looks like. But I do think this is the smart way of approaching this, to actually use the technology to help you get a little bit of an advancement, get ahead of the game a little bit here when we feel like we've been stuck behind that. So, yeah, any thoughts on that? This is the last news item we wanted to bring
Yes.
forward as we're wrapping up. But I do think, that's a really nice way to use some of these emerging AI technologies to make us safer, better, and have better prediction systems in place.
Yes, exactly. And for sure, if it works as it claims, I think it will definitely useful for in rural areas and for farmers, for many, I believe, that
Yeah.
it take advantage of this. But you mentioned something very interesting. To being a cause and at the same time a solution to the same problem,
Yeah.
it's kind of paradoxical. Like because these AI processors need huge amount of energy, and which is now one of the hot topics to be discussed,
Yeah.
and and the and the CPU like processor designers and also creators now trying to come up with the best solutions where AI use the minimum amount of energy and doing the maximum amount of job.
Efficiency.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
raising the efficiency. And I think if that happens, then for sure, this kind of forecasting would definitely, I believe that AI will definitely do a better job in forecasting
I can see that.
because it can process the immense amount of data at the same time that then even a normal professional can do in specifically, especially in the forecasting. But these movements of the streams and then different winds and different in different countries, that's different ways. It, it it's not easy to do that, but this is definitely one of the interesting way of the application of the AI, and it clearly shows us that how many ways you can apply artificial intelligence
Yeah.
and to take benefit of it. But of course, it comes with the price, and the price for now, we need more energy, and for
Yeah.
we need more energy in order to solve our existed existing problems like climate change. Unfortunately, the many countries now, I believe, don't take it seriously, and
Yeah.
I can even compare the weather events with those that happened in my childhood. You should be able to see the difference. But yeah, of course, and countries should dedicate, I think, more power and more energy to this. I mean, in energy in a way that it should be discussed. It should be, the awareness is very important. And this kind of projects, I really like to see the variety of the areas that AI could be applied. This is a very interesting example in that sense as well. So yes, I think why not? It is, if it provides, of course, as a human being, as you said, we strive for only those things that could benefit us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this anthropocentric approach that we had for now 2,000-3,000 years or more since the dawn of the humanity, that should change, first of all. So we are not in the center. The universe is not for us. We are a part of it,
Mm.
and we have to act, I believe, that way. And only then we will be able to use AI or anything else in harmony with the whole existing universe. If we will not do that, and if we will just do the things that our currently system requires from us to do, then
Yeah.
things will be different, let's say. But I think I have hope, and I believe
It's good.
kind of optimist, but I am really well aware of the realities that which kind of problems we have. But the first thing that we should define for ourselves, we are not the center of the universe. We are part of it, and we have to act that way. I think this, if we apply this to AI, to everything in our lives, I think many things will start being different.
Yeah.
That's the last comment for today's episode. From my kind of philosophical, I would say, but
Nice. Yeah. So
I think it's reality.
yeah, so let's point out a couple of things here. So there is, of course, for those that were interested in the harms thing, so I put that QR code up there if you're interested in that. But we do want to say that we have this amazing, or I'll probably put it down here. We have this amazing masterclass as well, or webinar as well here, that we recorded a year ago, where we were talking about AI research tools. It was 3 hours that Vugar and I chatted about this. We have lots of slides in there. There's a bonus video about ChatGPT and some AI mastery stuff. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in learning more about AI, feel free to scan that code that's down below there. If I can find it on the screen. Yeah, we'd love to see you there. Otherwise, if you're interested in the AI harms, that's like on the top there. There, yeah, you can point on that. And yeah, we'd love to see you there as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. We know we kind of like to surprise people with these podcast recordings, but in any case, if this is something for you, then we'd love to see you on the actual podcast. So if you enjoyed this episode and want more content like this, there are 3 quick things that you can do to support the show. Hit subscribe in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. It'll go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It takes just a second, but it makes a huge difference for us in helping others discover this show. Second, if you found value in today's discussion, please leave a rating or a review comment on either Vugar's or my YouTube. Your feedback helps us improve the show and helps listeners find us. Finally, connect with us on social media, where we share AI insights that you won't find anywhere else. Thanks so much for coming.
Ciao. Until next week.